High in the Seshachalam hills of southern India sits a sprawling complex of white stone towers and solid gold roofs. This is the legendary Tirupati Balaji Temple. It commands an estimated net worth of over $30 billion, pulling in up to $50 million in a single month. Its vaults hold more than 11 tons of pure gold, and the architectural ornamentation is literally encrusted with diamonds, rubies, and emeralds. Yet the presiding deity housed inside this fortress of wealth, Lord Venkateswara, is widely considered to be drowning in debt. Millions of pilgrims travel here to perform specific, intense rituals, donating entire life savings and sacrificing their hair to personally settle this divine account. To understand how the world's richest religious institution operates as a billion-dollar debt repayment program, we have to trace its origins back to an ancient mythological saga of celestial heartbreak and a divine promissory note. Hindu texts say the story begins when the hot-tempered sage Bridu decided to test the gods. Arriving in the divine realm of Vaikuntha, he was ignored by Lord Vishnu and, in a fit of rage, kicked Vishnu directly in the chest. Because the chest is the spiritual residence of his consort, the goddess Lakshmi, she felt deeply insulted and abandoned the heavenly realm for earth. Devastated, Vishnu followed her. He retreated to the rugged, reddish cliffs of the Tirumala hills, hiding inside an anthill and starving until a divine cow began secretly visiting to feed him its milk. Local folklore says a furious cowherd discovered this and swung an axe at the cow, but Vishnu emerged and took the blow. Seeing the bleeding god, a Gandharva princess named Neela Devi cut off her own beautiful hair and placed it over the wound to heal him. Deeply moved by her sacrifice, Vishnu declared that anyone who offered their hair to him would have their prayers answered. Today, thousands of devotees sit daily to surrender their own hair in a ritual called Kesh Dan, turning this mythological injury into a massive modern practice. As the saga continues, Vishnu took the form of a poor forest dweller named Srinivasa. He soon crossed paths with a beautiful earthly princess, Padmavati, and the two fell in love. But a royal wedding required massive wealth, and Srinivasa had absolutely nothing. To fund the ceremony, he turned to Kubera, the treasurer of the gods, and took out an astronomical loan of 11.4 million gold coins. The terms were steep. Srinivasa promised that until the end of the current cosmic age, the Kali Yuga, he would pay back the interest alone. This celestial loan drives the temple's modern economy. When devotees wait in line for hours to reach the hundi, they are fulfilling a personal spiritual obligation to repay their god's cosmic interest. The wedding went forward, but the massive spectacle caught the attention of goddess Lakshmi. When she arrived and confronted Padmavati, the resulting tension was so overwhelming that Srinivasa transformed himself into a solid stone idol, locking his divine presence and his massive financial obligation into the physical world forever. With a deity permanently frozen in stone and carrying an eternal debt, human rulers stepped in to manage the obligation. In the 9th century, the Pallava dynasty laid the first major architectural footprint, carving the initial dark granite inner sanctum to house the idol. 200 years later, the Chola dynasty expanded the site into a sprawling complex. They added soaring entrance towers and donated the revenues of 12 entire villages to sustain the temple's daily operations. The compound reached its peak under the 16th century Vijayanagara Empire. Emperor Krishnadevaraya poured staggering amounts of gold, diamonds, and land into the site, famously commissioning the iconic gilded roof that still shines over the inner shrine today. These rulers also formalized massive daily rituals. According to local folklore, the temple's famous laddu pastry began when an old woman, secretly the goddess Lakshmi, offered the very first sweet to the deity. Today, the temple kitchens produce hundreds of thousands of these precise, identical sweets, distributing them every single day. Over 1,000 years, rival kings who fought bitterly over earthly borders found themselves united by a single cross-generational project, building a permanent financial and architectural empire to service the debt of their god. Today, the TTD manages this religious footprint with the logistical efficiency of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, The money doesn't sit idle in a vault. The temple funnels hundreds of millions of dollars into massive social welfare programs. They run dozens of hospitals, providing free medical care, operate hundreds of schools, and serve free meals to over 300,000 people every day. To sustain operations of this magnitude requires an unbroken chain of human devotion. Millions of pilgrims make the journey year after year, century after century. By placing the Almighty in a state of perpetual debt, the narrative creates a daily, active partnership between the mortal and the divine. The grand empires of the past and the millions of everyday people waiting in line today are participating in the exact same act of devotion. They are ensuring that the God who turned to stone for them is never, ever left to stand alone.